Fantastic. Hello, hello, hello. And welcome to the umpteenth International Show and Tell by Async. It's really lovely to see you all. I should really have checked how many of these we've done. 15. 15. That is quite amazing. Thank you, Yann. Yeah. It's so lovely to see you all here. So before we jump into the talks, a few points of order. Number one, perhaps most important, is that we have a code of conduct. You can find it at asyncjs.com. Thank you very much. I was just about able to tune out, but it's great. At asyncjs.com/code of conduct. If anyone feels uncomfortable about anything that anyone has said or done this evening, please talk to me, Jake down there, or Yann if he's around still, but he has a young ward, so he might have to shoot off at some point, or Cameron if that's okay as well. Fantastic. So we also have a Slack community. It is a vibrant Slack community. It's been going for some time now. So please join. There is the QR code. It's also at the bottom of our asyncjs.com webpage. So tonight's agenda, the introduction. This is what we are doing right now. And our sponsors, we're going to have some talks. We're going to have a break. We're going to have some more talks. And there's going to be some closing remarks. And we have the back of the Lord Nelson pub, which is sort of just around the corner there, booked out for afterwards for drinks. So it'll be lovely to see you all there. So in terms of sponsors, I'm very happy to say that we've got Tillo sponsoring. There's a few of you here tonight. It's a fantastic showing, and so we couldn't fit into our usual venue. So we have hired out this magnificent space, and that is thanks to Tillo. So I'm going to invite Jake up to the stage to say a little bit about Tillo.
Hi everyone, I'm Jake. I'm one of the co-organizers of Async, and I'm also reasonably recently a lead developer at Tillo. We deal with gift cards and rewards and stuff. We're a software as a service company, so one of our main products is an API, and we are currently hiring. So if you fancy being a head of engineering manager with PHP experience, or a lead Python developer, please, take a photo of this now because it will be gone in a second, but yeah. There's also more jobs on our website if you want to check that out that are not necessarily development jobs. Cool.
Thank you so much, Tillo and Jake. I'm not getting further right, so I'm just going to say about the rest of the sponsors, if that's okay. We also have some wonderful local sponsors as well. In fact, they're all local sponsors. So Buzzshot, aka Tom. Where's Tom gone? There you are. Tom, thank you so much for sponsoring this evening as well. And Silicon Brighton, who have put on this smorgasbord of incredible technology to allow us to be here this evening, and have frankly sponsored us and kept us going throughout the pandemic, throughout everything. Like, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Silicon Brighton. Hugely grateful. Always will say that. And thank you, Cameron, for being here as well. And lastly, but first, definitely not least, who's going to FFConf tomorrow? Plenty of hands. Wonderful. And FFConf have also sponsored us for this evening as well. So the lovely pizzas that you've been been eating, thanks very much to all of the sponsors for that. You're right at the back, Nigel. Do you mind if I sort of call on you? No, actually, I'm just going to run this round to you quickly, if that's okay. One small announcement from Nigel.
Right, hi, I'm Nigel from CodeBar. CodeBar is a charity that organises free coding workshops for underrepresented groups. That's not what I'm here to talk about. We are also hosting a pre-FF conference coffee. If you don't know people who are going and you want to come along and have coffee before the conference, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning in bugger, I've forgotten. Curio Cafe, right opposite the Duke of York's. So hopefully see some of you there.
And thanks for organising it. Yes. And this venue that we're in tonight is the wonderful Ironworks. We are very happy to be here and very grateful. The toilets, I forgot to mention, are just there where it says Brighton full of beans, which might also be a factor in you needing to go to the toilet, depending on what you had for dinner, I think. And also, if you look behind you, there's a big green sign there with the running man. That is the emergency exit to make you aware as well. Okay. Did everyone have a lovely starter? Have a nice little tipple? We are now into our main course. It is the speakers for this evening. And you'd have thought that I'd have memorized the first. I do remember the first speaker, of course I do. But just to make all of the speakers aware, thank you so much to everyone that signed up. We have a grand total of 11 speakers, which I think is a new record. So I am going to have to be strict AF during the timings. I will be sort of waving at you, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to honk you off the stage as soon as that 5 minutes is up. So apologies. Yes, Layton. Yes, I will be waving that in your face as you speak. So yeah, all good. And yeah, I must take the sleep timer off my phone. Actually, thank you for the reminder. Yes, so yes, exactly. There will be a timer. But yes, apologies in advance for any strictness on that. But yeah, it's just to prevent everyone's bums from going numb. So on with possibly the youngest speaker we've ever had at Async. Please welcome to the stage, Yann and Flynn. Perfect, Flynn.
Yeah, all right, wish me luck. I'm Yann, this is Flynn. Okay, and I need to swap over. Do you want to hold on stuff? Yeah. That's good. Tab. Cool. That's this, right. Let's see if you get, what's that? It's a horse. Yeah, that's it. So this is, you got the one word. Thank you. Yeah, well done. Think about. That's us. Yeah. Right. This is what I've been working on in the hours that I get. So it's Gadabout in autonomous browser agent, and the aim here, which this is a good example of, is while I don't have accessibility needs, right now I do, and actually this affects quite a few of us. It was actually an FFconf talk. I don't know if that was last year or the year before, and so there's been something it's actually been sort of a brainchild for quite a while, which was the idea of one thing I don't like doing is testing stuff I build, because short automated tests, all that side, but actually the kind of end results, the user, does it actually work? Does it make sense? And so I've always wanted to automate it. And actually, funny enough, my relationship with browsers, when I was only probably a few years older than him, I was with my dad in the Opera software offices in Oslo, and I used to get to go in there quite regularly. So browsers are something that I've always had quite a big connection to. So I've been pouring a lot of time into, and this QR code works as well if you want to sort of bookmark it. It's like we've got buttons. Yeah, there's an invite system at the moment, but if you like what you see, then you find a way to message me, and I'm happy to let you try it out. So can open it up, but I need to grab a valid invite, which is in my pocket. I was meant to do this before. Apologies. Yeah, you're pretty confident. Right, everybody close your eyes, because this is technically it's a bit like a password, isn't it? But it will be deleted after today. Oh, okay, you could do that. That's another option. And if anyone was here 2 years ago, I did another AI talk where we did a crowdsourced prompt. Right, is this going to work? Perfect. Okay, right, we in? Nice. So yeah, so we had a crowdsourced prompt, and I'll try and do something similar. I wonder, maybe it kind of makes sense if we go to FFconf. But what this does is, so you've got a browser in your browser, your dog, and you sort of give it a prompt and it drives. And the idea of this is you get something that you're not very connected to. I quite like to set it up so that you could sort of give it a persona, say like who do you want to test this, and you could also change kind of any accessibility needs they have, whether they have any, or because it's all computer vision, anything that we do where we look at stuff, we point at things, click on things. It's basically like giving your browser to a toddler, like giving your microphone to a toddler. So, FFconf website. Just like that, it works about as well at the moment. So there's some model improvements. You can see I've got the known issues sitting in there. So let's think of a prompt. So you're the ffconf.org website, and you've got something that you want people to be able to do. Can we come up with something you want a user to test, which will happen right now? Click a ticket and buy a ticket. Buy a ticket. Cool. Okay. Buy a ticket for the next installment. Let's see. I don't think it will succeed. I obviously won't get through a whole journey. I might try and invent a credit card for us. But there, so it's running. So in the background there's a Playwright browser. This is speaking to ChatGPT 4.0, although I've got another thing that I'm working on, which if you've seen recently, Claude's announcement of computer use API, perfect timing, because yeah, I should be able to delete some code. And so what tends to happen, I'm going to cancel and rerun, is one issue that it has is spatial reasoning. So a bit like us, if I said, look at that picture and give me some coordinates of what you want to click, you might get it wrong. And this does a lot of the time. But the concept's there. Not as cool as the last time I ran an AI thing, but yeah, early in the works. That's Gadabout.
Amazing. And thank you, Flynn, as well. Okay, so next up we have how your biceps after that, Yann. Yeah, good work. Next up we've got Iain. Please come, welcome to the stage, Iain.
Hello. So let me just. Yeah. The year is 2019, which is coincidentally the last year I did one of these. I was really interested in design systems, so I built an Airtable database of thousands of components from almost 100 design systems, and I wanted to make a website out of it, but I wasn't really sure how. Airtable, if you know it, is a database, so you think SQL. It doesn't have a way to get the data out with SQL. It has a REST API, but the REST API has quite a lot of limits, which aren't particularly useful for a relational database. So I thought GraphQL doesn't have a GraphQL, but what does is Gatsby. Remember, this is 2019. So it also has Gatsby source Airtable, so you can make a GraphQL API out of your Airtable base, and all of these other things also go in. It's nice. It was really nice at the time. It's still quite a handy thing. And I built a website that loads out of the Airtable, but it's now 2024. People are not so keen on GraphQL anymore, and Gatsby was sold to NetLify, which you think, oh, NetLify, they're great. So yeah, it can still do the stuff it used to do, but you're forced to use React, which this is just a content site. You don't need React for a content site. Upgrading major versions is not fun, and it's not getting new features really. But NetLify have ripped out the nice data layer logic, and they put it into their product called NetLify Connect, which I thought, oh, this could be really useful. Enterprise only. So what are the alternatives? You've got Next.js, which is actively maintained. It can generate a static site. It's nice to work with. You're still forced to use React. It doesn't have GraphQL, and I'm not going to say that bit. There are children here. Astro 4 is actively maintained. It can generate a static site. The islands architecture means no JavaScript by default, which is really nice, but it doesn't have the GraphQL data layer. However, Astro 5 has this new thing called content layer, which sounds kind of familiar and also looks very familiar. This was published very recently, Astro Airtable Loader. And it works a bit like this. So you update your config, you say content layer true, and then you define your domain so you can render your images that are loaded from Airtable. And then you make a config file in your content directory, which defines collections. So every single table in your base that you want to load in is a new collection. And you can also define the view you want to use. So you can restrict it to, for example, I've got a Boolean field that I only want to publish certain components. And then you run npm run dev. It goes and fetches all of your tables, all of the data from all of your tables, and puts them in the data store. And then here's an example. This is from my homepage. So I want recent components. So I just say get collection, define the name of the collection, and then I can do all of this sorting logic, all of this filtering, get 8 most recently updated components, and then render them. If you haven't used Astro, it's a lot like React, basically, a lot like JSX. And then a more complex example. So I have a different page for every single component. So I can build, use this get static paths. You can see the ... slug. So this is a lot like the Next.js routing. And I can build a page for every single row in that table. And that's it.
Amazing. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Ian. Next up on the list, we've got Layton, if that's okay. Yes, please, clap, clap, clap. Sorry, sorry, Layton.
Thank you very much. So this is my talk on Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. So raise your hand if you've done programming. Raise your hand if you have played D&D. This might land. Cool. So when I started playing D&D, I had to play it online because my friends were not close by. And so I used Roll20, which is a very popular online D&D site. I wanted to learn to code because I wanted to automate some stuff because we are forgetful people. Now I make coding as my living. I work at Tillo. So thank you very much to Tillo for both sponsoring and sponsoring me. So yeah, let's talk about the platform a bit. Roll20 is a virtual tabletop site. That means we can play board games and such. My group uses this for Dungeons and Dragons, and we forget area problems. I've covered this well ahead of time. That little circle there, that's a paladin's area of protection. They kind of protect the people around them. If you're in that circle, you have a good time, unless you forget. The website has some different things. This is a Roll20 board, and everything on it is a graphic. So these tokens are graphics, but the background is also a graphic. There's a bit of an issue there. You never know how many graphics there's going to be. Some people I have watched meticulously place every single floorboard of a room as a separate graphic each. Not the best idea, and we'll get to why. This is a Roll20 character sheet. Here you see lots of information. Every single piece of information is an attribute, which again is important, and we will get to why. So here's the diagram. In the middle, you can see a character sheet. And on the left, you can see the graphics. They have an ID which references the character sheet. And on the right, you can see some attributes which have an ID that reference the character sheet. This is, again, important, and we will get to why. So we want to run some code whenever a token moves to know if they're inside of a paladin's aura. It should get every paladin on the page, get how big their aura is, get the bonuses associated, and give those bonuses to the characters. That seems relatively simple. It's a 4-step process. So let's start. Let's get all the paladins. We get all the tokens on the current page. We filter by whichever tokens have character sheets. The tokens all had IDs. That's fine. We use the sheet to filter to which tokens are paladins. Now, the information on the sheet, bit tough. Here's why. The graphics have a sheet ID and the attributes have a sheet ID, but the character can't get to the attribute. There's no way to do that. So when each sheet has about 100 attribute fields and every single player and every single monster has about 100 attribute fields each, we have to get them all and then filter them in JavaScript. Running that code at the bottom there takes 100 milliseconds. So if every single time you need an attribute, you need to take 100 milliseconds, and I was learning to code when I first did all this, things do not go well. The site crashed the first time I ran this, and I do think it was just coincidence, but it is just my belief that it was coincidence. So we're just going to ignore all that. We're going to discard any of the paladins that are out of aura range. We're going to do that by getting their level. We use the level to get the aura radius, and then we calculate how far they are between the to the token that has moved. But pages have different distance measurements. You have Manhattan, where you count up and then across. You have foray, where diagonals are the same as straight lines. Then you have 3-5, where every other diagonal step counts as 2 diagonal steps. You've got more problems in this problem. Let's get to the last bit. Then we keep the largest bonus. And would you look at that? There's yet another attribute. So when we do all the math, it takes 30 seconds of loading every single time one token moves 1 step. This wasn't going to work. So I learned a lot of things very quickly. First off, use TypeScript. Getting it that far took me months. And I'm not exaggerating. It really took me months. My partner convinced me to go to college to learn programming midway through. So there's a guy, Carl Hugo. He put up a types definition stuff that is not maintained by Roll20. They did nothing for this. He did it all on his own. And I love him. Plus, I learned how to contribute to a Git repo, which is probably for the best now that I'm employed. Then I added some caching. I hate this. I really, really hate this. This is an immediately invoked function that returns a function that encapsulates variables, and it's awful. And there's a reason that has to be used, but I'm not going to go into it. So if you want to find out, come talk to me. And then I made my own API utility script, Layton's Easy Distances. This is so much easier to calculate the distance with than using all of the math that was required with those different distance calculations. So what's take away from this? You will get a job if you obsess over D&D hard enough. TypeScript does help, I promise. Just deal with it. It is a pain, I know. And use my package, Layton's Easy Distances. And do not force your user base to use immediately invoked nameless functions with encapsulated variables. Some of them are new. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Layton Burchell. Have a good evening.
That was to the second perfect 5 minutes. Fantastic, Layton. Thanks so much. Okay, Mr. Tom Parslow, do you want to come and take the stage? Fantastic. Welcome, Tom, to the stage, everyone.
Thank you very much. And yeah, there's been some great talks, so apologies about this. Great. Okay. Yeah. So, hi. Hello, Async. I'm Tom. Some of you know me. Oh, is it on? Or, yeah. Cool. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So, some of you know me. Probably more if you don't, because hey, there's lots of new people. That's cool. I make a software called Buzzshot. That is a SaaS product for escape rooms. I had a problem. Email editing. My software sends emails on behalf of my users. My users need to edit those emails. I had a crappy email editor that was basically an HTML template and then some blocks, some rich text blocks that my users could come and fill in. It's great for simple things now, but now my users want custom emails and I have to build them custom HTML emails, and that sucks. So the obvious solution is don't do anything. Go and find I'm using React, so let's go and find a React drag and drop email editor. And cool, React email editor. That sounds like what I need. So I'm excited. I go and I have a look at the demo. Looks really good. Of course, I'm a complete idiot. So anyone who can actually read has already noticed the problem, which is this is not a React email editor. This is an iframe around a product. So yeah. I'm very angry in a way you can only be when it's totally your fault. So fine, I'll build my own and open source it. That will show them. I didn't go around to that. I'm lazy. So how hard can it be? Easy drag and drop operation, flexible to create whatever emails my customers desire in their hearts. Integration with my existing template system because I have to template stuff in, and producing HTML that works in email clients, including that did say Outlook with like weird effects, but yeah, apparently Outlook is too demonic to even be displayed in demonic Unicode characters. Yeah, fuck Outlook. Oh, pardon me. There's children here, aren't there? He's too young. He won't notice. So yeah, how hard can it be? Yeah, a weekend of solid angry hacking later, I had a drag and drop email editor, which is the kind of thing I think you can only do when you're just really, really annoyed and really, really want to make something to get over being an idiot. And as it turns out, building it myself actually turned out really well because it's I've been able to really deeply integrate it into my system in a way I don't think I would have been able to if I was using a third-party thing. So I have a templating system, and it integrates with that. So, but rather than having to write the template tags yourself, there's a little menu so you can select, I want to insert this thing in here, and it does it. So suddenly my customers can actually use the templating system rather than just accepting what's in there and just sort of ignoring the bits with the curly braces. It's got conditional blocks. You can turn things on and off. That's cool. It's got repeating rows. And again, my templating system before, it had for loops and if statements, but like, yeah, again, my customers are not programmers. They don't want to use that. Whereas they can get their head around this. And now I have an email editor. So I sort of inspired me to make other things. So I thought, well, my customers send a lot of broadcast emails with MailChimp. I can make a little mini MailChimp, which I built. So I built a broadcast thing. My customers really liked that. I was like, maybe not so many MailChimp. So I also built an automation system, so a sort of workflow system, so they could automate their emails. And yeah, I probably wouldn't have done that if I hadn't had this email component that I was really proud to show off. And yeah, that's worked out really well. So morals of the story: sometimes not invented here does actually work out. You can do things out of spite. That's fun. And yeah, you should never take advice from me. So, thank you.
Thanks so much, Tim. That was brilliant.
At my company, like, we've got entire teams of people dedicated to doing that, Tom. You just got angry in a weekend. Amazing. Okay, so we're about to have a break, but before we do, I'm going to invite Terence up to the stage. Hey, Terence, big round of applause, please.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Terence Eden. I hate using Macs, but there we go. My aim today is to ruin your future holidays, for which I'm very sorry. So my wife and I like to go walking. Whenever we go walking, we're having a nice walk, and we see a bench. And quite often these are memorial benches. Joan used to sit here and feed the ducks, or Callum taken from us far too soon. All these things, they're lovely. And after years of walking around, we went, someone must have a list of these, right? I mean, like, councils will have a list of all the benches they have. No one does. No one knows anything. So in over a few weeks, Liz and I built a website to map all of these benches, and it's got rather out of hand. So in the last few years, we now have 34,000, just tipped over 34,000 entries this weekend from all around the world, which is crazy. So I'm just going to walk you through this very quickly. If you can show me the time, I will just ramble on for at least 20 minutes. Knock it down to 3, it's fine. So I tell you what, let's, I'll go for the good stuff first. So where are we today? We're in Brighton. So will this max geolocate? Oh, bloody hell, it worked. Oh, there we go. Look, oh, blimey, it's like right on us. So let's find some of the benches around here. So there's this bench here. If we click on it, then we find this is to Mike Collier, and we go there. And this is crowdsourced photos that people have just taken and uploaded. And if you want to, oh, good, the scrolling's the right way. You can see a bit more detail that I really don't like Max. If you click Add Bench, you upload a geotagged photo. So just take it, with literally any phone with geotagging. We do web OCR, so we scan the image, we pull out the text so you don't have to type it, we plonk it on a map. You can sign in if you want. Again, we've used a bunch of social sign-ins here, so GitHub, Facebook, and other things like that. I'm going to show you some of the other slightly interesting things. So hang on, I want that animation again. That was so cool. Let's go back to Brighton. Oh, I love it when demos work. And we can go in and we can sort of see, zoom in. If there are clusters, we can zoom in a bit further. Can I scroll through? What is that? What on earth is that? Why is that? What the hell, Brighton? What on earth is that? I mean, so this is all using OpenStreetMaps. So this uses OpenStreetMaps, but it's a free tile server, so it doesn't cost me any money, which is good because I have about 300 gigabytes of storage of photos. So anything that will save me money is good. And there's various other paid for map tiles as well. So I can, there we go. This is actually what Brighton looks like in the sunshine. So not at the moment. Let's go back to that. I tell you what, let's find a random bench. So there's a search thing there, but if I type random, there we go. This is in some bench to Cyril, which is very nice. And this is in Bath, United Kingdom. So if I click on Bath, it will go there and it will geotag in. So there's lots of reverse geotagging APIs where you can give it coordinates and it will tell you names, but you can tell it names and it will give you coordinates and you'll be able to zoom in. And Bath, bloody hell, Bath has a lot of benches. And you can sort of see them dotted all around the world. And then what's some other fun features that we have? I tell you what, if I try and find a bench that I've uploaded, is this going to work? Oh yeah, so we've got GeoJSON. So if you all this data is open source, all the images, Creative Commons, go nuts, take them. The database is open source, remix it, do whatever you want with it. There's GeoJSON there. There's all sorts of semantic data which Google mostly picks up, not all the time. So this is Eldodds, who's added loads of benches. If I click on there, you can see he's added 73. That's pretty good, thank you. But the way I'm going to ruin your life is that you will now not be able to walk past a bench without going, oh, I'll just take a photo of that and upload it. And your partner will say, we've been walking for hours. Can we go? Oh, yeah, but there's 2 more benches over there. And you say, well, yeah, but why do you need to take benches? Well, because I want to be on the leaderboard. J.R. Bray has uploaded 3,700 benches, of which he's added on average about 3 photos. We love him. I mean, I created this. I'm down in like position 7 or something down here. So you can sign in with whatever you want. I would absolutely love it if when you're on a walk, literally anywhere in the world, even down in Australia, which is a mythical country, and New Zealand, which definitely doesn't exist, you'll find lots of benches, and I would love you to go take a geotag photo and upload it to our website. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thanks so much, guys. Amazing. Well, that is incredible. And yeah, definitely call to arms for that. Fantastic. Thanks so much, everyone. Incredible speeches already so far. We're going to take 10 minutes. And remember, I'm a harsh taskmaster. We'll be sticking that time limit. So head to the bar. I'm not sure if there's any pizzas left, but I will see you back here in 10 minutes flat, if that's okay. All right, 20 past. Okay, folks, it's time to grab your seats. Jake was noting during the break that we seem to have the perfect number of seats for the amount of people here, which is miraculously serendipitous. So yeah, wonderful, and thank you for grabbing your seats so soon. So what wonderful first half of talks, and we are straight into what is now not quite the second half. It's more like the second 55%, because we have had a surprise edition speaker sign up during the break as well. So to kick things off, please could I introduce another Brighton legend? It is Mr. James Hugman. Big round of applause.
Hello. So who knows about React Native? Okay, who's used React Native? Okay, great. And who knows what Rust is? Okay, and who's used Rust? Okay, good. We're in the right crowd. There you go. So I'm going to talk to you about uniFFI, which is it's a foreign function interface generator for Rust. And what does that mean? That means generating the bindings that, getting JavaScript or getting a foreign language talking to Rust in this case. So, oh yeah, thank you. React Native, the old joke, is still there. It's write once, optimize everywhere, and and I don't know whether everybody knows, but about last week, a new architecture, new release of React Native was released, and so now the new module system. Oh no, wait. Modules written in C++. Yes, great. And works across. So if you want to optimize now, you write your stuff in C++. So, okay. So now, meanwhile, Mozilla, they write tons of Rust. They invented Rust. And they've got lots of Rust, which is running in all the Firefoxes, whether that be desktop, Android, iOS, whatever. And so they were busy writing these foreign function interfaces by hand, and it was a pain in the ass, and it was a lot of work a lot of boring work as well to write these. And so back in 2019, I think somebody thought, why not generate this stuff? We've got enough experience writing this stuff. We can now generate it, and so that's what they did. They've got so this uniFFI, which is sort of all written by Rust developers. So so it was really there for Kotlin and Swift to start with, and Python as well, just to test. So so that's everywhere in Firefox now. Millions of users, so it's pretty robust. Still millions of yes. Thanks, Tom. So this year, a client of mine came to me and said, "Can you build that for React Native?" So we've got this enormous library written in Rust, and we want to be able to use that from React Native. So so that's what I built. So this is the docs, and the sort of TLDR is that it generates TypeScript from that Rust, from your Rust library. It's got bidirectional calling from JavaScript to Rust and back again. And it works with some synchronous and asynchronous calls. So if you want to escape that single-threaded sandbox of JavaScript, then you've now got options other than C++. And then it also does the hard work of wiring all up together, and so you can produce yourself your own native module. So and that's it. Thank you very much.
Amazing. I forgot to say, by the way, that we don't have time for Q&A, but my word, I think I wanted to speak to a lot of the speakers about what they've talked about tonight. So they will, hopefully, a lot of them will be kicking around afterwards. Like I mentioned, we're going to go to the Lord Nelson afterwards. So definitely apologies for not being able to do a Q&A, but definitely grab them afterwards. So rolling on, we have Mr. Niall Coleman. Come on up to the stage. Please give a huge round of applause for Niall.
this is mine. Here we go. All right, yeah, so I'm Niall. I've been doing a lot of web art. I just like it's a hobby, and I've recently been doing a bit from my granddad's paintings as well. So he's a painter, and he's created like some pretty cool works. And I got some inspiration. So here's the first one, and this one is a bit of a special one. So if I go to the link, you can see there's it in action. Now I've got some sort of inner workings details of it all as well, but then there's also all sorts of configurations that you can do as well. So there's the center lines, which is just the number of white lines around the sort of that are spinning around anyways. Then line rotation speed, it's like speed. And then, yeah, it's all sort of there anyways, and you can even change the colors as well. Then back to here, I go down. So this uses the current timestamp as a pseudo-random number generator. So if you load it on your mobile phone and then your laptop, it should all be synced. And so it uses a bit of the golden ratio as well. We love the golden ratio. And yeah, that's like the pseudo-random number or pseudo-random number. And so, yeah, that was the first one. Then the next one, this one is a little bit more intricate. You've got the trees in the foreground with leaves as well. Then the rolling hills as well, and all sorts of different colors. Which was quite a challenge, but I made it in the end. Cool. There you go. And you can sort of see the trees growing, the leaves falling, and they've all got an age. So this is also part of the inner workings, but again, you can also play around with this and sort of speed them up, make the leaves go fast. And then, yeah. But if I go back to here, there's a little bit more on the inner workings. So it uses a bunch of vector maths. So for instance, if I look at the actual trees and stuff, and probably slow it down a little. The actual branches themselves, they will prefer to go upwards, but then they will also sort of try to do a random angle from the parent branch as well. So whatever direction the parent branch is going in, it will try to go in that angle at like a cone and not like any angle as well. But then it'll also go upwards as well as like a preferred direction. And so that's a little bit of the inner details of that. Then it's all generated up front as well. So the whole data structure is there. Uses a simplex noise. So what simplex noise is, it's a little like Perlin noise, if anyone's heard of it. But what it is a way to generate numbers or random numbers which are very close together. So if you provide two very similar inputs, you'll get a similar output as well. It's just the direction, let's say, of the numbers that changes and is random. And then it will also, there's also a bit of parallax going on as well. So if I just speed this up, you can see the trees are moving quite quickly. Then the brown layer, so at the very bottom, that's going a little slower. Then the next one up is even slower, and then yeah, all the way up. And it's achieving a bit of parallax. And then yeah, that's it. All the links.
Bravo, Niall, that's amazing, and really beautiful paintings from your granddad as well. Really cool. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so I should say that Niall mentioned simplex noise. There's also a little bit of simpleton noise here because I keep on forgetting to actually put the timer and stand in the right place and stuff. So there's a bit of noise in how much time people are getting, but I'm trying to remember. Next up, Peter, who is another async. What should we call you? Like an old hand that comes out wrong, doesn't it? Like, anyway, an amazing speaker who's spoken many times. Please welcome to the stage, Peter Cook. Sorry.
Hiya. So I'm gonna so I don't have anything pre-prepared. So this is something I built. I actually built it about 5 years ago, which is a bit crazy to think. And I realized I've never really sort of talked about it or shown it at Async. But what it is, I have to actually click. Right, yeah, so what this is, so the government publish open data on the, like everyone who works in each department. It's also got who everyone reports to. So it's basically a spreadsheet with every position in every government department. And so you can kind of, from that, you can kind of create, you can sort of engineer or create the, like a tree structure of each organization. So this is something I did because I sort of specialize in data visualization. So it's something I really wanted to do and to sort of map out each of the departments. And it's pretty cool because, as you can see, they all kind of look different. They all have a particular kind of sort of, yeah, sort of fingerprint in a way. So you can see like the MOD has got a particular structure there. But I think as well, it's looking pretty cool. You can also zoom, you can go to a particular one, you can zoom in and hover over them. So if you sort of go, so the top of the hierarchy is here. So, and then you can kind of drill down. So as you sort of move out of the tree, you're sort of drilling down into the organization. In terms of the actual implementation, there's some sort of quite interesting things which I've got some notes for here. So it's actually really minimalistic in that I'm not using any frameworks or any build tools. I'm just using like script tags to include JavaScript. So it's using pretty old school kind of techniques in terms of how it's built. So that's quite nice because I know it's going to kind of keep working. And I think the hardest part of it was doing the zoom because there's quite a lot of data on there. It's using a canvas element. The way in which I got the zoom to work is that there's kind of, it also draws onto a image. So when you're actually zooming, you're just zooming into like a static image. And then once you finish zooming, it then redraws at that position. So, but yeah, that was quite tricky to get working. And yeah, the picking is quite nice. So it's using quite a lot of functions from D3. So the picking, you see that you don't actually have to go directly on the point. So it kind of gets the nearest one. So it uses a technique called a Voronoi kind of map. And what that does is it sort of figures out this sort of shape. So I might be able to, if you can imagine, there's kind of a network behind that figures out this sort of structure, whereby you can, if you then you can kind of then figure out the nearest point to where the mouse is. So that's pretty good. What else is cool? Yeah, D3 has a function called stratify, which is really helpful in taking like a flat file, the CSV file, and then, as I said, each row kind of says who they report to, so it can turn that into an actual tree structure. So that side of it was actually made a lot easier because of that function. And then it also has a function that takes that tree structure and then can then draw onto the canvas element as well. So, and it's open source. So yeah, if you want to find it, you can go to peterrcook.com .com, and then you can get to this, and then yeah, there's a little there's a little info bit here, and then I think there's a link to the repo down at the bottom, I think. Yeah, so yeah, that's it.
Okay, cheers. Sorry, not to have time for questions again. No, it's all right. Very much. Amazing. Okay, and so now it's time for our surprise guest speaker. I should have said, and he's gone now, and I feel awful about this. Yann and Jake have done so much to put on this evening. I'm just the ugly face that is standing up here presenting everything tonight. But Jake and Yann did everything with Cameron and for organising this evening. So huge thanks. And Jake, do you want to come up and get yourself set up? Should we just? James, I'm going to hock this at you if that's okay. Guys, beautiful, isn't it? I'm sorry, I've got a smaller laptop and I'm annoyed about it. There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, and there we go. That was your 38 seconds up, Peter. So you had a few to spare. Whilst we're just getting that plugged in, actually, Peter, where have you gone? There you are. Can I just ask you quickly? Like the data was from 2014. Have you tried updating it? Is it possible?
I guess the data's been updated, but no, I just haven't got around to doing that.
Yeah, be interesting to see. Anyway, thank you so much. Now, huge round of applause for Jake.
Hello again. I'm Jake. You've already heard from me. So I'm just going to kick off with English, a programming language, and why this is difficult. So this was kind of inspired by a talk given by one of our regulars, Daniel Van Berzen, a few years ago, where he did some research into how to make code more readable, and he compared English to code. And there were some really interesting points when he was talking about the structure of English and how some parts of English are prescribed and some are unprescribed. So these are the things we're taught versus the things that sort of come naturally in the way we speak. For example, you might say, me and Dave had a drink, which is technically incorrect. That's we're told that we should say Dave and I, but people feel more comfortable saying me and Dave. And similarly, we say things like little green men and not green little men or men, green and little, which sounds super weird. So the goals of my English programming language were it uses only English syntax and punctuation, etc. I wanted it to be strongly typed because I'm a big TypeScript enthusiast. It compiles to JavaScript because I want to run it in the browser. Although I could use WASM, I suppose. But JavaScript's easy because it's not super strongly typed. And then anyone can write it without prior coding experience because it's just English. So where do we start? Weirdly, we start at the end is the easiest place to start. Because how do we end a statement in JavaScript? It's a semicolon. How do we end a statement in English? Full stop. Yeah, there we go. So right, we've already figured out our first piece of syntax. Good. Moving on. Property access. Normally we use a full stop for that, but we can't do that because that means the end of a statement. How do you access a property in English? How about Jake's presentation? What's the syntax for that? Console's log. Exactly. Cool. So we're getting somewhere. These are like just my initial thoughts. And then strings. JavaScript has 3 different ways to do them. We could use single quotes, double quotes, or backticks if it's a template. Since we're already using apostrophe / single quote for the property access, let's just stick with double quotes. And because we don't need to worry about legacy stuff, we'll use double quotes for everything. And we're going to use the square bracket syntax from, if you've seen a quote that's been adjusted, yeah, it's that thing. So that's cool. All right, what's up next? It gets a bit more complex when we start thinking about how do you define variables and their types. Const message string equals hello async. How do we do that in English? I was like, well, initially, how about we don't need const at all? We'll just say message, and then we put in brackets the type. In this case, I'm using the type some text instead of string because people won't know what that means. And then we say is hello async instead of equals. And then I thought, if we already know that this is a string type, do we even need the quotes? So ditch those. Then it got really, really confusing because I was like, how do you describe objects of stuff? How do you describe a person, right? This is like a user object that you might see. We use prefixes like interface or class to sort of build out the shapes of stuff. How do you say a person is a something? So I decided to ask people. And I came up with this. I've highlighted the important parts. I asked people to describe a person, not a particular person, but a description that anyone could fit into. That they should include the traits name, age, gender, and is alive. and that they should consider what types these things are. So age is a number. And I asked them to avoid including information that I've not requested, e.g. a person is a kind of animal, because then I need to define what animal is. But people found it really hard to not include other information. And one thing that I kept seeing repeatedly was people cannot describe what a person is without also referencing other stuff, like a person is a unique individual human being, a person is a human, a person is the singular form of the noun people. Some of these got interesting. I don't know if I skimmed over it, but in my example of describe a person, I said, think of it more like a recipe or instructions for a person, and someone took that quite literally and numbered each of their steps. Step 1, a human is born alive. And my favorite one, I think, from this was a mammalian organism. It was written by someone that is currently studying to be a doctor, so that kind of makes sense. So, what else did we learn from this? 3 minutes? Cool, I'm way ahead of schedule. All right. I was getting a lot of gibberish back in response because I was incredibly vague. I didn't want to tell people that this was to write a programming language. And I deliberately asked people that have massively mixed experiences. And I was like, wouldn't it be really cool if there was someone that just knew how everyone wrote stuff? ChatGPT does. So I gave the same thing to ChatGPT, and here's what I got. And this is pretty much what I was expecting a lot of the programmers to give me. We've got each of the traits listed, and it's used the like technical programming terms like string for the values. Weirder still, I asked, so of the people I asked, someone that has basically no programming experience whatsoever, except that I showed them some code once, gave me this answer, which looks almost exactly the same. And so I asked them repeatedly if they'd used AI, and they denied it, so I'm going to take their word for that. But there's an interesting thing about both of these, and that is that they look similar, but they've used different syntax. So in the ChatGPT version, we have a semicolon delimited list of pairs, and in my friend's version, we have a comma delimited list of variables with the types in brackets. So now I've got to choose which one of these syntaxes do I support, if not both, which would be incredibly confusing. Further looking at this, I realized that there's also a whole bunch of information in here that I don't need. And how do you get people to stop writing that? Or do I want people to write that? Because these bits in yellow are kind of like inline comments. What if I could extract those out, and the JavaScript as output includes those as comments? That would be cool. I then had another answer that was kind of similar, except, and this kind of goes back to the idea of adding inline comments. We had types in brackets. Other people used brackets to add extra contextual information stuff, just like comments. And I don't know why I didn't notice this sooner after looking through all the many answers I got. A lot of people used this phrase, identified by their, when they were talking that a person is identified by their name. And suddenly I was like, wow, wouldn't it be really cool if we could just write Jake is a person, and then implicitly the variable name is Jake, but also Jake's dot name is also Jake implicitly. I don't have to say Jake is a person and Jake's name is Jake. That's really repetitive. God damn, yeah, okay, right, I'm going to try to speed up. Right, so I tried to simplify this. We've got the semicolon one, the brackets one for the types, and then I tried to simplify things and make everything an individual statement. But this looks horrible. So I was like, oh, if only we had syntax highlighting. So I started writing a VS Code plugin to syntax highlight this English. And you can see roughly it's terrible, but we've got some types and some like keywords and stuff in there. Then I was like, how do we construct a person? So like I already went over, there's a ton of different ways you could write this. John is a person, John's age is 25, John's name is John. Right, I'm going to have to skip ahead quite a bit then. I'll bring up his foobar in English, but sort of written like a programmer. We've got if and we've got else if. Is this one we continue? No, it's not. But then I was like, that's not really how a person would write stuff. If anything, they might put the conditions afterwards and use terms like when instead of if and otherwise, which reminded me of this weird British PHP thing I saw a little while ago, if anyone's seen that before. So fortunately, I'm now to the conclusion. So yeah, this is all a work in progress. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it next. It's really hard. And if you want to find out more, follow me on Twitter and I might tweet something about it in the future.
Thanks, Jake. Thank you so much, Jake. So You might have noticed that Jake got a slightly additional time bump. That's because turns out you give me a little bit of power and I go crazy with it and start doling out. But Jake has done so much for this event that I couldn't deny a little bit of extra time. Are we okay with StreamYard and everything? Fantastic. Huge round of applause for Martin.
Thank you very much. I've come all the way from Sweden to be here, mostly to FFconf, but also to Async. And I've been to a few Asyncs and FFconfs, but I've always said, like, next year I will do something myself. So this year I figured I should. My talk is about the T-Rex vision, and you might have seen Jurassic Park, I hope. Otherwise, this won't make that much sense. But in that movie, they say, like, keep still. His vision is based on movement when the T-Rex comes. And I always thought, like, how can that work? That doesn't, I mean, he has to see something, right? But then I realized, like, you see sort of that even birds, like, when they move around, they, like, move their head to, like, change the perspective. So maybe there's something to it, right? And I mean, we also sometimes have this as well. And there was some not liking Mac here, but they even made this thing, you know, like, if you throw around it will make it bigger because you can't see where it is. So I saw some weird example that I thought sort of was, I was like, that can't be real. So I had to make it myself, basically. And that is, like, you take this, and apologies for everyone on the streaming, because first of all, it will lag. And second of all, white noise is something that video encoders really doesn't like. So, but let's see if you see this. Like, can you read this? Okay, perfect. You can read this, right? Yeah, can you read it now? Well, oh, I'll start it again. Where is it? You saw it like a minute ago, right? But yeah, and yeah. So yeah, I even spent a lot of time debugging why the text is brighter when it moves. Turned out it's not. That's also just a figment of the way the visual system works. So I recorded the screen and then I paused at different times than I'm pausing here, and realized that no, it's just an artifact of your vision. So yeah, and for those that didn't see anything, I can. This is basically what it was. So I just made two white noise images, and one with text and one with a background, and just scroll them over each other. It's also, I'm not going to go into the code because I wrote that 8 months ago and looked at it now, and I don't understand what happened. But I will talk to the person that was really good at Canvas, and maybe I can figure out what the hell I did. Yeah, that was it. Thank you very much. I think I have the next.
Yeah, Chetan, if you could come. Oh, you. Hi there. Surprise, Chetan. Brilliant.
You can for now, and I'll tell you when.
Yeah,
that's all right.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Martin. Okay. Can I just say into the mic? Please welcome Chetan to the stage.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Chetan. I built this thing a few years ago, and then did a bit more work on it recently. I'll come back to that. So basically, this was based on a thing. So does anyone seen any of the the Reddit April Fool's Day kind of things. Yeah, we've got a few nods. So this was one from a few years ago, where I mean there were much more complicated rules to this. Where if you've got millions of people on something, then actually having like a shared canvas where you can all draw and stuff is interesting once you put some rules in. And I was like, well, I mean, if I make something, only like 2 people are going to look at it, maybe ever. One is me, and one's because I said, "Can you look at this? Isn't this cool?" And anyway, so I just went for I just wanted to try building the shared canvas thing. I saw a YouTuber who kind of like posted about JavaScript and stuff doing something like this, and I wanted to kind of do it a different way. And I think there's some really interesting like data structures and stuff. But basically, if you go to this URL, which you can't really see, it's place.chetbox.com. You can actually mess around with it, and everyone can see what everyone else is doing. It's really inefficient. Every single one of these pixels is a giant div with some CSS animation on it, which just doesn't work very well. But I finished a side project and I put it online, and I'm like, great, I did a thing. Hey. And then I basically just sort of forgot about it. And then every now and again I'd be like, oh yeah, I've got that thing, haven't I? And I'd go and I think I only noticed because on my website I have something that generates just a PNG of that image. And so on the link to that, I have that PNG basically links to this. So every now and again it would change. I'd be like, oh, someone's been there and they've done something. And I just come back and find things like a flag and be like, oh, here's a flag. Oh, look, here's another flag. And then someone drew Super Mario on it. Then at some point, someone reverse engineered the API. And then basically every time I looked at it, it was just a full screen Nicolas Cage. And you could draw on it and then you go back and it was still Nicolas Cage. And I was like, this is mad. And so I'd sort of keep going back and be like, people keep finding this. I don't even really know how they're finding it because my website gets basically no traffic. So anyway, so about a year ago, I was like, oh, it changed again. I'm just going to spend a little bit of time just recording all the clicks. So when someone clicks somewhere, I'm just going to stick them in a database and then I'll just forget about it and I'll deal with it later. So a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I wonder what happens if I make a really long animated GIF, but then I'll just cut out all the times at which, where nothing happens, basically. So I'll show you that in a minute. But while I was sort of like looking around at this, I found this subreddit. So someone made a subreddit about my site, and like people have posted their like screenshots of what it used to look like. I don't think these work anymore. We can try. Yeah, here we go. And like people have been sort of chatting and drawing art on it, and I'm like, that's cool. Like just this. I mean, you can tell where they come from. And so, yeah. Anyway, so I was like, okay, well, I wonder what the last year looks like. So I made a GIF. Let's see if this works. Here we go. And I'm just going to leave you to watch this. This is the bit we should turn the stream off for. Thanks. Okay, that's fine. Great. So this is what happens when you leave things on the internet for people to do anything they want with. I've seen worse, by the way. Okay. Sorry. But yeah. But yeah, this is what happens when you leave anonymous things on the internet. I don't know. But there are some nice things too. So that's nice. This goes on for another minute or so, I think. There's an Among Us guy. I don't know why there's a Marlboro cigarette packet. Like, that's really specific. Yeah, I like that people kind of leave a little flag of where they've come from. I assume that's where they've come from, which is quite cool. I don't know what that flag is. Does anyone know what that flag is? That's a Czech flag. Okay. Obviously, you know, if you give someone a way to draw anything, they are going to draw that. But I think I'm just amazed at how much time people have spent just clicking on pixels. Do you know what I mean? Like on a random website that nobody looks at. I doubt it, because given the time that's probably like a whole day's worth in that last couple of seconds. What do you mean? Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, okay. So basically, you're wondering, are there any hidden messages like in that kind of noise and in that mess? There might be. I mean, I don't have time for that. Yeah, I think some people have probably figured out how, like, what the API is. It's all on Firebase, and actually, if you know how to use Firebase, you can quite easily reverse engineer it. Especially because it's open source. The source code's up there. There you go. I think this is coming up to approximately a few weeks ago at this point. There we go. Yeah. No, I think, and I'm glad I'm not, to be honest. I'm not geotagging anything. And this dog keeps coming back. And someone's taking, you can see someone's taking the time to draw it bit by bit. It's amazing. There you go. That's it. That's the last year.
Do you mind if we brilliant. Thanks so much, Chetan. I'd like to apologise on Async and humanity's behalf for the abomination which is the internet and what appears there. But thank you so much, Chetan. What an this has been a remarkable show of people having side projects that they've actually finished and released to the world. Like I am humbled and frankly embarrassed at how little I've been able to do of that. But anyway, that's it. That's a wrap. Thank you so much to everyone for coming. I'll see some of you tomorrow. Thanks. I'm going to ask you to applaud a couple more times, I'm afraid. So keep those hands warm. So the first applause for all of our wonderful speakers this evening. Like what a show! Thank you so much, folks. I had a chat with Peter last week about maybe I should do a talk. I've fallen in love with a tool called Lazy Git. If you haven't tried it, it's fantastic. I was like, maybe I should do a talk on Lazy Git. And then I saw the speakers sign up and I was like, just turn on the PlayStation instead. So I huge hats off to everyone that put in the time and effort to make the talk, come up here and deliver the talk to what has been a fantastic showing. So yeah, I'm so appreciative. And secondly, thank you so much to Jake, Yann, Cameron, Steve, everyone that's been involved in organizing this and all of our sponsors tonight. Thank you so much. Big round of applause. And the wonderful folks from Ironworks as well. Thank you so much. So tonight, thanks. So tonight we're off to the Lord Nelson. The door you came in is no longer passable. So the door to go out of is past the bar and just up to the left there. Once you get out of there, hang a left and just go to the end of the road and you'll see the Lord Nelson right there. We've got space at the back basically. So just head there. I will be there. I'm sure a whole bunch of us will be there. It'll be lovely to see you. I think it might be somewhat the official Async pre-FFconf thing. Yeah, I think. And just one last thing I forgot to mention about FFconf for anyone that's coming tomorrow, by the way. Chetan is organizing a run first thing tomorrow morning because he's amazing and I'm not, so I will be asleep. But yes, so what time does it start? 7:30 at the Duke of York's. My word. Half an hour gentle run. Yeah, so definitely go along to that if you have the beans. I do not. Beans anyway. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. It's been really wonderful to see you all. Great talks. Thank you.